Today, I want to draw your attention to one of the most strategically revealing developments in the ongoing geopolitical struggle between Russia and Ukraine. Let me begin with a simple hook. When nations choose to weaponize winter, history tells us something big is about to change. And in this case, winter has become more than a season. It has become a battlefield, a tactic, and a signal of escalating stakes. What we are witnessing is not merely a military operation, but an economic confrontation that will echo through global markets for years. Ukraine's decision to wait for winter before launching a targeted strike reflects a level of strategic patience that is rarely seen in modern conflict, and it carries a powerful message. Timing can be as potent as the weapon itself. In geopolitical warfare, winter has historically favored Russia. Yet here, Ukraine flipped the script entirely. The cold season brings increased energy demand, strained power grids, reduced mobility, and heightened public vulnerability, conditions that amplify the impact of any disruption. By choosing this moment, Ukraine ensured that its strike would not simply damage infrastructure, but would deepen pressure on Russia's economy and government response. This is the kind of maneuver where a single action multiplies into political, economic, and strategic consequences. The move underscores a sophisticated understanding of how winter reshapes both battlefield dynamics and national morale. When temperatures drop, the stakes rise. Energy becomes not just a resource but a lifeline. And Ukraine's message was unmistakable. If energy is power, then timing is leverage. This operation signals that Ukraine is willing to engage Russia on an economic and psychological front, not just a military one. It demonstrates how modern conflicts hinge on logistics, public resilience, and resource vulnerability, proving once again that the harshest battles are often fought in the cold shadows of winter, not just on open fields. The strike on Russia's 7.9B nuclear power asset represents far more than a physical hit. It is a direct challenge to the core of Russia's economic and energy stability. Nuclear power is not just infrastructure. It is a symbol of national capability, energy independence, and geopolitical leverage. By targeting such a high-value facility, Ukraine delivered a message designed to resonate far beyond the battlefield. This is the kind of move that says, we know where your strength lies and we can reach it. The financial weight alone, nearly $8 billion in value, signals the magnitude of the blow, but its strategic value is even greater. Energy production, supply networks, industrial operations, and regional power distribution all depend heavily on such a facility, meaning that damage here disrupts much more than electricity. It shakes the structural foundation of Russia's internal stability. What makes this action particularly impactful is the psychological dimension. When a nation's most protected and expensive assets become vulnerable, the sense of security cracks. Investors become cautious, citizens grow anxious, and policymakers are forced to adjust priorities under pressure. This is not just a strike, it's a recalibration of power. Ukraine's attack effectively brings the conflict into Russia's economic bloodstream, demonstrating that even billion-dollar fortresses are not beyond reach. The hook is clear and powerful. When your opponent can touch your most valuable assets, the game is no longer about territory, it's about vulnerability. The economic consequences of damaging a major nuclear power source reach far beyond the immediate physical impact. They penetrate the deeper layers of national stability. Energy infrastructure is the heartbeat of an economy, and when that heartbeat is disrupted, every connected system feels the tremor. Factories slow down, supply chains wobble, regional industries face forced shutdowns, and households experience rising uncertainty. This is not merely an interruption of electricity, this is an interruption of confidence. And confidence in economics is often more valuable than the power itself. When a nation is forced to divert billions from development, welfare, and industry to emergency energy stabilization, the economic pressure becomes visible at every social and financial level. The psychological aftershock is equally important. Investors begin to question long-term security, business sectors brace for potential shortages, and citizens grow anxious about the reliability of essential services during the coldest months. In an economy already navigating international sanctions and budgetary strain, a targeted hit like this magnifies existing vulnerabilities. The hook here is unmistakable. When energy falters, economies shiver long before the winter arrives. Ukraine's strike didn't simply damage infrastructure. It exposed how tightly Russia's economic machinery is tied to its energy assets. It turned a single attack into a multi-layered economic challenge, proving that in modern conflict, destabilizing power can be more disruptive than defeating armies. Russia has long relied on its dominance in energy as both a shield and a weapon, an advantage woven into its military strategy, economic model, and geopolitical influence. Yet this moment marks a rare and dramatic shift. The energy giant finds itself vulnerable in the very domain it once controlled with confidence. For decades, Russia used its vast power grid, gas reserves, and nuclear capabilities to project strength across Europe and maintain leverage on the global stage. But Ukraine's precise and wintertime strike exposes an uncomfortable reality. Even the strongest energy powers can be shaken when their critical assets are hit at the right moment. This reversal doesn't just disrupt systems, it disrupts assumptions, and assumptions are the backbone of geopolitical power. What makes this shift even more significant is the symbolic weight behind it. When a country known for energy supremacy suddenly faces instability in its own grid, the narrative changes. Allies take notice, markets react, and adversaries sense opportunity. The hook is sharp and undeniable. When the energy giant starts blinking, the world pays attention. Ukraine's move demonstrates how modern warfare has evolved. Power is no longer defined solely by territory or weaponry, but by the ability to destabilize what a nation believes makes it untouchable. This strike challenges the long-standing perception of Russian energy and vulnerability and marks a turning point where control over power systems becomes as contested as control over land. The global reaction to this strike is not merely political, it is economic, immediate, and deeply interconnected with winter energy markets. When a major nuclear power source in Russia becomes compromised, the world does not wait to feel the consequences. Energy traders, European regulators, and global investors respond within hours. Markets thrive on stability, and any disruption to a key energy supplier, especially one as large as Russia, sparks volatility. This is where uncertainty becomes the real weapon. Even a temporary threat to energy output can push electricity prices upward, tighten gas reserves, and revive fears of winter shortages across Europe. For nations already struggling with inflation and rising living costs, this type of shock arrives like a cold wind through an open door, sudden, chilling, and impossible to ignore. What amplifies the impact is the timing. Winter is the season when energy demand peaks, when households rely on heating, and when industries require consistent power to maintain production. A disruption now sends ripples through every economic layer. Investors start recalculating risk, policymakers revisit emergency plans, and consumers brace for potential price hikes. And here lies the powerful hook. When energy insecurity rises in one nation, the world's markets don't wait. They react instantly. Ukraine's strike didn't just hit a Russian target. It hit the global energy psyche, reminding everyone how fragile the balance is and how quickly a single incident can reshape winter expectations. Modern conflict is no longer defined purely by armies on the ground or missiles in the sky. It is defined by the power to shape economic conditions, destabilize infrastructure, and manipulate the systems a nation relies on for survival. Ukraine's strike makes this reality unmistakably clear. By targeting a major energy asset, the battlefield expanded far beyond geography. It entered the realm where currency markets, industrial output, public morale, and government spending all become part of the war. This is the evolution of warfare, not just destroying capability, but disrupting the economic engine that drives it. When a power grid falters, factories halt, citizens grow anxious, budgets tighten, and political pressure begins to build from within. In this way, the strike becomes more than a military act. It becomes an economic message delivered with precision. Ukraine's move shows that influence today is measured by how effectively one can pressure the financial and logistical systems that keep a nation functioning. And this is where the true shift occurs. Russia now faces a war fought not only with military defense, but with economic resilience. The hook resonates loudly. In modern war, the battlefield may be local, but the consequences are national. By hitting the infrastructure that fuels Russia's stability, Ukraine placed the conflict into a new phase, one where energy grids, revenues, and economic strength are as contested as any piece of territory. This strike demonstrates that the most decisive battles of the future may not be fought where soldiers stand, but where economies breathe.